Tony from Six String Country here. I'm excited to tell you about the Six String Country Guitar Theory Workshop. To get started on this course, you really need to be comfortable with the concepts in Guitar 101. We're going to talk about chords, but we're not going to talk about how to get our fingers on these. We're not going to talk about learning the keys of chords. You have to know that already. We're going to talk about building chords, roots, thirds, fifths, over major and minor, diminished, sevenths. We're going to talk about triads. We're going to talk a lot about scales, but we're not going to be learning the scales. You got to know those already, pentatonic and diatonic at least, okay? And then we're going to talk about how to build scales. We have a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. For the diatonic, right, we'll talk about things like this. These are music theory concepts that we're going to then take and use that information to become better guitar players and better musicians. We won't stop there. We're going to talk about modes. We'll learn the modes in this course, but then we'll talk about useful things like mode mixture, which we use all the time. For example, in blues. When we're combining two different modes there, we're combining a major pentatonic with a blues scale, right? And all different combinations that we can use with that to make our phrasing and our soloing a lot more interesting. We'll talk about intervals. We'll have seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, and octaves. So think about like, that's all using sixths. That's one interval that we need to know really well as a guitar player, and once we start understanding that, it has a lot of applications, and same with a lot of these different intervals. We'll talk about ear training. How do you figure out a song without having somebody show you or needing the tabs? We all start somewhere. That's how we do all the songs on this site and how we transcribe them and teach them as we learn them by ear. So we'll talk about how we do that. And finally, we'll talk about sheet music. Chord charts and tabs are some of the most intuitive ways that we can quickly digest a lot of information, but there's ways that give us more information, more specific information. Traditional sheet music, we get the rhythms with that you don't get with tabs. That's really helpful. Nashville number charts can give you a lot more information to be a lot more specific with when you're transitioning to different chords and different parts of the song than we get with a chord and lyric chart. So all of these things that we're going to be talking about, this is really making us a better musician, right? We're going to apply it to the guitar. These are the things when I started my degree at a music school. I wish I knew these when I was going in. You'd be way ahead of the curve. So we're getting into the weeds a little bit with some of this stuff, but it's gonna make you a better, well-rounded musician, and it's gonna, I think, make your playing on the guitar even more interesting.